Hello everybody, I'm BC Begley, and these are your news headlines for September 28th of 2022. Hurricane Ian nears Florida landfall with 155 mile per hour winds. Hurricane Ian's most damaging winds began hitting Florida's southwest coast on Wednesday, lashing the state with heavy rain and pushing a devastating storm surge after strengthening to the threshold of the most dangerous Category 5 status. Fueled by warm waters in the Gulf of Mexico, Ian grew to a catastrophic Category 4 hurricane overnight, with top winds of 155 miles per hour, according to the National Hurricane Center. The storm trudged on a track that would have it making landfall north of the heavily populated Fort Myers area, which forecasters said could be inundated by a storm surge of up to 18 feet. Ian menaced Florida after bringing destruction on Tuesday to western Cuba, where 2 people were reported dead, and the storm brought down the country's entire electrical grid. Republicans block probe of contributions by Chinese elites to Trump PAC through spa operator. Elections finance law complaints against an Asian day spa operator from South Florida who allegedly funneled contributions from Chinese elites, likely including foreign nationals, to a campaign committee backing then-President Donald Trump, have been quietly dismissed. The dismissal by the Federal Elections Commission came despite a staff finding that laws likely were broken and that the matter merited the FEC's full attention. The 6-member panel split 3-3, as is its usual practice on whether to proceed, with Democrats voting yes and the Republicans saying no. 4 votes are needed for a full investigation to occur. Pie from the sky. Delivery drone lands in America. The little aircraft appeared out of the blue sky above a Texas home, deposited its payload of a mid-morning snack in the yard, and zoomed off. As deliveries by drone start becoming a reality in America, flying shipments of pizzas and birthday gifts have still not become the norm that tech leaders had predicted. But the service is available in parts of the United States, and government regulation is catching up. Skeptics question whether drone drop-offs can ever work on a large scale, but backers argue they are safer for the environment and that they are faster. The U.S. Embassy warns Americans to leave Russia. The U.S. Embassy in Moscow issued a security alert overnight that again urged U.S. citizens to leave Russia immediately while there are still options for departing the country. The alert comes in the wake of Russian President Vladimir Putin's order for a partial mobilization of Russian men to fight in Ukraine. Quote, Russia may refuse to acknowledge dual nationals, U.S. citizenship, deny their access to U.S. consular assistance, prevent their departure from Russia, and conscript dual nationals for military service, the alert said. Mysterious radio signal from deep space flashes Earth 2,000 times within 2 months. Powerful signals are being beamed in Earth's direction from deep space at an unprecedented rate. According to scientists, a repeating fast radio burst source discovered last year was recorded firing more than 1,800 bursts our way within the span of 2 months. The hyperactive nature of the burst allowed researchers to pinpoint its host galaxy and source. Named FRB 2020-1124A, the object was detected using the 500-meter aperture spherical radio telescope in China. It was described in a paper by lead astronomer Hing Zhu of Peking University in China. Iranians protest again despite fears of even bloodier crackdown. Iranians staged a 12th straight night of women-led protest on Tuesday over the death of Masha Amini, despite fears an internet blackout will see security forces intensify a bloody crackdown. Dozens have been killed since demonstrations flared after the 22-year-old Kurdish woman died in the custody of Iran's notorious morality police after her arrest for allegedly breaching the country's strict rules on hijab headscarves and modest clothing. Opposition media based abroad said widespread protest continued in different cities, but activists said an internet blackout was making it increasingly tough to share video footage. Beijing is allegedly opening police stations on Canadian soil. The People's Republic of China has opened at least 3 police stations on Canadian soil as part of an alleged attempt by the country's security state to keep an eye on the Chinese-Canadian diaspora. 3 addresses in Toronto are known to be registered as, quote, service stations that are being operated by the Fuzhou Police Security Bureau, a police force active in the Chinese metropolis of Fuzhou. The revelations were contained in a newly published report by the Asian human rights group Safeguard Defenders. North Korea fires 3rd ballistic missile ahead of Vice President Kamala Harris's arrival in Seoul. North Korea fired a 3rd ballistic missile into the sea on the eve of Vice President Kamala Harris's arrival in the South Korean capital on Wednesday. Wednesday's missile is the latest show of force from Kim Jong-un's regime, which fired 2 previous missiles into the waters off its eastern coast on Saturday and Sunday. Harris is scheduled to arrive in Seoul on Thursday as the U.S. and South Korean militaries hold joint exercises in the region. Prior to Saturday's launch, North Korea had not fired a ballistic missile since June. The pattern echoes that of President Biden's last trip to South Korea, which also saw the North Koreans firing a trio of missiles days before his arrival. Seismologists suspect explosions damaged undersea pipelines that carry Russian gas. 2 undersea leaks that began in the Russian-owned Nord Stream gas pipelines on Monday were likely caused by powerful underwater explosions, according to the Swedish and Danish seismographic data. It is, quote, very clear from the seismic record that these are blasts, the director of the Swedish National Seismic Network told NPR in a phone interview. Quote, these are not earthquakes. They are not landslides underwater. German and Danish officials both said the Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 pipelines showed sudden losses of pressure late Monday, which they said could only be caused by a leak from large holes in the pipelines. Vice President Harris calls China's behavior disturbing and reiterates U.S. support for Taiwan in speech. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris on Wednesday accused China of undermining key elements of the international rules-based order and called its behavior in the East China Sea, South China Sea, and Taiwan Strait disturbing. Harris, speaking aboard the USS Howard at a naval base in Japan, also echoed President Joe Biden's recent comments backing Taiwan, saying the U.S. will, quote, continue to oppose any unilateral change to the status quo, and we will continue to support Taiwan's self-defense, consistent with our long-standing policy. Harris's remarks come at a time when tensions between Beijing and Taipei are at the highest they've been in recent decades, with the Chinese military holding major military drills near the island. Satellite imagery reveals new 9-acre island in the Pacific created by a volcanic eruption. The eruption of an underwater volcano just gifted Earth a new island in the southwest Pacific Ocean. On September 10th, a submarine volcano named Home Reef, located 150 miles north of Tonga, awoke. The eruption, still bubbling today, sent lava and plumes of steam and ash into the surrounding waters, and notably, above the ocean surface. A near 9-acre island has arisen, named Home Reef Island after the volcano that formed it. Satellite imagery reveals the new arrival in the central Tonga Islands is circular and formed of pumice, lava, and ash. And those are your news headlines for September 28th of 2022.